Good morning and welcome, those of you online and those of you in person. My name is Louis Scamardella. I'm the director of the Lower Hudson Valley Small Business Development Center. And welcome to our workshop, The Athletic Mindset in Business. Before we begin, I need to thank some people and some institutions. St. Thomas Aquinas for hosting our program and providing the facilities, and also Senator Charles Schumer for supporting a grant that made the funding for this presentation possible. There are numerous aspects to running a business. One of the most important is the mindset, your attitude that you bring, the challenges that you face, the setbacks that you encounter, and also what is important is your response to these setbacks and challenges. We have put together a workshop that brings together the mental aspects of running a business, and we're going to show you how the athletic mindset can benefit you in business. And having said that, I'm going to bring our expert, Mahki, right, up here, and he's going to make the presentation.
Thank you all for joining us today. So today we're obviously going to talk about the athlete mindset in business. I'm Mahki Matthews. I'm a mental performance and wellness coach. My education and training are in sport and performance psychology. I'm currently pursuing a doctorate at the University of Western States and hold a master's in this field from the University of Lock Haven. As you can tell from some of my experience, I truly value intentionality, empowerment, excellence, and this is why this project means a lot to me and Senator Schumer putting this together in order to, build our businesses, build a small development center, and feed into our larger ecosystems that we serve. Currently, I'm serving as the first ever mental performance and wellness coach here at St. Thomas Aquinas College. Some of my other experience extends to the United States Military Academy at West Point, as well as cross-check mental performance training, where we bridge the gap between aviation, pilots, and leadership in mental performance training. So an overview, today we're going to be able to walk through the same systems that tactical athletes, athletic performers, and other performers alike use in order to regulate their stress, their nervous system, build a foundation of sustainable leadership, as well as challenge and survive, not just thrive, not just survive in the face of adversity and the challenges we face every day as people and business owners. Some of the learning objectives, you'll actually walk away with practical frameworks and tools that you can apply even today in real time to bring down stress, to execute with sharp decision-making, clarity, focus, and lead with passion. Lead the groups and the people you serve in a way that is fulfilling for yourself. Just like Tom Brady and the Patriots, in the third quarter of Super Bowl 51, down 28-3 in the third quarter, the whole world was against them. They were down and out. Everyone thought, Tom is washed. He previously served a suspension that season, and everyone chalked it up to be that is that. But as a true leader, Tom fought back with one drive, one possession, one stop. It was a whole collective team effort. So it wasn't just Tom. Although he displayed a great act of leadership, it takes a whole team. So in this presentation, you'll not only learn how to be a better leader for yourself, but also how to lead your teams better and to serve something larger than yourself again. Because every day, just like professional athletes, you as corporate athletes face challenges of the pressure to demand. You have your decisions constantly being questioned. You're always under scrutiny. But unlike these athletic performers, NFL, NBA, any other sport, you lack the structured training cycles that leverage stress and recovery, $1 million health facilities to take care of your body and your mind for optimal performance, as well as an interdisciplinary team of coaches who can teach you these skills to not just survive in adversity, but thrive and perform when it matters most, similar to Tom Brady and the Patriots when they came back against the Falcons. I apologize. This is not a slide for firefighters. It is for business owners. Although I know it feels like you're constantly putting out fires, some of the challenges of being a leader and managing not only your own performance, but other people's performance. You have to constantly pull that other 50% up and keep the ship afloat. You're constantly being pulled in multiple directions because you're not just a business owner. You're also a husband, a wife, a partner, a caretaker, and you have many other roles. And with all of this pressure, all of this scrutiny, stress comes. And when stress comes, when it's not leveraged, our decision making begins to erode. We start to lose meaning in our decisions, and ultimately, performance tanks. And with all these constant challenges glaring in your face, always feeling like you're putting out fires, over time, leaders begin to break down. That is the human nature. Whether it be cognitive load with so many signals of a fire here, help here, solve this, challenges of spinning, racing thoughts, how am I going to pull my team up? How are we going to get to the next deadline? How do we prepare for the next quarter effectively? Tight deadlines, high stakes, the vision narrows, and we start to second guess ourselves, second guess our leadership and the things that actually got us here. The important piece about this slide and how it propels this session going forward is that we lack recovery systems that enable high performance year in and year out. Athletes have off seasons where they get to recover. Again, they have these facilities, these coaches, these trainers. However, in the business world, in your life, you're on 24/7. And I want to give you the tools and frameworks to allow you to leverage that. And instead of being in a balancing act constantly, you find more alignment with your leadership and your performance. So the foundation of leadership, one of the first skills I want to teach you today, is optimal breathing. And it's not just any type of breathing. It's breathing in a deliberate way that allows us to access everything that we need in the moment, whether it be the information, whether it be the framework for a pitch, or even just closing out a yearly meeting. I'm going to play a video by Stephen Curry.
Great for Clay, roll off of it. Clay just threw it over the top, knowing Trace Jackson Davis.
Very short clip, but what that captures is sometime MVP, NBA champion Stephen Curry utilizing a timeout to regain his composure, catch his breath, and put himself in a position to where he can execute at the top level as soon as he's back on the court. And business owners can use the same exact tool in between meetings, right before a big pitch, closing out meetings before you enter home, taking just even 5 seconds, think 30 seconds, a minute to just recenter, grab a quality breath, and recenter yourself before you proceed forward. So just some tips when you're talking about breathing in this deliberate way. I want to talk about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. And essentially what that means is the peace or the stress, activation. When we breathe through our chest and we're super shallow and tight, we feel the stress and we're like breathing through our chest, that actually activates that stress response. So when we're in chaos, when everything feels like it's on fire and we get the common advice to just breathe, when we breathe through our chest, it actually activates that stress and makes the chaos jack up that much higher. But when we breathe deliberately through our diaphragm or our belly, that actually activates the relaxation response. And one way you may know that you've activated that response is if you yawn. And I know it's super contagious, so I'm sorry for the Zoom listeners or anyone here if you yawned. But that is just purely the science of it. And this is a super strategic tool that can be used at any time. It can be super subtle, or you can take a step back, close your eyes, just as Steph did in this picture. And I want to walk you through one simple tool. It's called an extended exhale. So if you're willing, without passing out, push out all the air you have in you. Maybe 1 or 2 times. Just push all the air you have out of you. And just tell me what you notice. What you may have noticed, if you pushed all that air out of you, is instinctually your body reacted with a nice crisp inhale to reset that extended exhale. A lot of the times when we're in panic and we can't breathe, we're constantly like, I can't breathe, and you're trying to get air in, when actually the science shows the exhale is actually the important piece of relaxation and gaining your composure. The next tool is called 3 Good Things. It's a small tool I picked up from Dr. Kat Longshore at West Point. It's a simple but super profound practice, and it starts as simple as this. I want you all to take 30 seconds and just think of 3 good things that happened, 3 small wins you were able to stack between today and yesterday. I know it's very early right now. Anyone from the audience over there want to share? One from yourself or your partner?
I brought together 2 clients that were struggling, and we had a Zoom meeting yesterday. My daughter called me and said she was so happy because there was a crepes truck by her by her building, and I cooked dinner yesterday.
Nice. Seems like you both picked up some small wins. Thank you for sharing. And so, with this small practice, each day, just jot down, whether it be on paper, your phone, you want to share with a partner, just 3 good things, 3 small wins that happened. And what you'll notice is that each day you continue to write these things down. At the end of each week, or even 2 weeks, just take a step back, zoom out, and what you'll see is a stack of evidence that good things happen in your life day to day, that you're able to stack small wins and allow this to build and compound you forward. As you know, with performance, business, sport, momentum is the key to success. So if we can use this small tool to generate that momentum and build us forward, especially heading into quarter 1, this is a super simple yet profound practice. And a little bit of the science behind it is we have a natural negativity bias, and that is just our human evolution. And so what this practice does is aim to rewire against it. So instead of always seeking out the negative, we're going to take time to actually pinpoint the small good things as they happen. And what you'll notice is you'll find yourself, oh, I want to write this down later for my 3 good things. And you're actually noticing the good things as they happen rather than just going through the motions and just feeling like any other business leader that feels like, oh, I'm just always in the pressure cooker. Nothing good is happening, rather. So this takes us into typical versus maximal performance. And the way I want to break this down is typical is how you show up day to day. How do you show up on an average Tuesday, run your meetings, and then go home, again, be a partner, be a caretaker, and have that natural kind of phasing. The next piece is maximal performance. This is how you deliver in the clutch. This is when the big pitch, boom or bust time, when the stakes are the highest. How do you deliver for your team when it matters most? And I think it's super important to delineate the two because the progression will take you down 2 different paths. If you're someone looking to just build on day-to-day performance, it may take you down a different set of a skill set, which we'll go over both today. And then on maximal, again, a different skill set that requires you to perform when it matters most. And for some people, they're not quite ready or at the point where they want to optimize everything. They're just saying, hey, how do I get through Tuesdays better? How can I get better sleep? How can I get just a few minutes back in my day, a few hours back in my week? And then here, this is just the glaring facts of the investment that you can see with investing in mental skills training. This is one of the most expensive decisions you would make. So first, our research shows that leaders who build their self-regulatory skills, so being able to control their thinking, feeling, behaviors, live time, seen an improvement in 20 to 30% in their better performance. The next piece, the strategic recovery. We talked about athletes having it and giving you the frameworks to build it for yourself as business leaders. With systematic recovery, leaders shown to have up to a 30% sharper cognition, so mental bandwidth and performance, and then up to 50% less burnout. Next, looking at environmental design. There was a cool study done by Kellogg looking at proximity-based performance, and they looked at high-performing workers across 11 large known tech firms, and within a 25-foot radius, if you sat by a high performer, your performance increased by up to 15%. And amongst this population, that resulted in a $1 million profit annually. However, on the flip side, sitting next to a toxic or negative coworker actually decrease your input or your performance by up to 30%. And one of the workers in this study actually accrued a almost $13,000 cost to their firm. Next, psychological safety. You can see almost a double to 4 times increase in employee retention and decision-making quality. Again, we talked about it as leaders, when the pressure is on, when the load is there, decision-making becomes shaky, our trust becomes eroded, and being able to invest these small shifts in mindset and training and attitude will be able to see so much return on your investment for your business, your performance, and your teams. So now, I would like you all to just take a moment to also assess this. What would it be like for you, or what would it mean if you could get back a few hours in your week? If you could cut the costly errors that add on additional hours of work each week, if you could see the drop off between your best and your worst days diminish and close that gap, if you can align your performing lives so it doesn't feel like such a balancing act of I'm a person and I'm a business owner. And then lastly, if you could lead with passion, if you could lead your team to the long-term vision that you've had, if you can lead and actually impact a larger ecosystem around you and serve those in a way that has fulfillment, meaning, and at the same time, get you the outcomes that you and your team work so hardly for. But as you know, it is not only mindset. Although that plays an important factor, there are other components to performance. If you look here, we have a prime performance pyramid, and this is by no stretch the perfect way to go about it. However, this is what a lot of our science supports, starting from a foundation of just baseline wellness and capacity. You have to give yourself room in the tank to build and grow for the long term. So starting here with quality of sleep. I know a lot of the times we're talked about 8 hours, 9 hours, the quantity of sleep, and it is important. However, working in the college space, working in the military setting, I know the quantity is not always at the essence, so I've learned to be flexible and learn how can we get quality of sleep to still see those performance benefits without saying, hey, go sleep 9 hours like you've been told since you were 7 years old. A lot of the times, my focus goes on naps. There's some really interesting research with NASA showing that even a 15 to 25-minute nap is more effective than coffee, more effective than even actually getting less than 7 hours of sleep. Just the small naps, small shifts can actually have a profound impact on your performance. The next is fueling, so that's nutrition and hydration. I am not a nutritionist, although we do know there is a connection between the brain and gut axis, and that performance is a whole body experience, not just the mind or the body. Next is movement, whether it be intentional stretching, a walk, a jog, exercise. Movement is fundamental for our baseline and building a capacity for performance. So after you listen to this presentation, I want you to think about where you can incorporate a small walk, whether it be a walking meeting, whether it be between meetings, or even to start your day or end it. Next is breathing, which we talked about in the previous slides. This is a fundamental, act that we do involuntarily, although we can influence it. And then next is stress management and our recovery habits. This, again, builds that baseline, that capacity to perform in the clutch moment when it's Super Bowl 51 at the end of the season, when you're down in the third quarter, when you're approaching a tough deadline and you need to perform and you need that last little bit of energy to get you through. Your baseline starts here. Then we work our way up to well-being, so being resilient, being able to channel your emotions, not just control them, but channel them in an effective way. Social support, we do know that social support is one of the biggest predictors of our long-term well-being. So having quality people in our corner, whether it be mentors, colleagues, peers, family, loved ones, anything like that. We work our way up to attentional control. How do we be here in the present? How do we get clear on what is important now and focus on the task at hand? And at the top, we have prime performance skills. This is where everyone wants to start, at the very top. But again, this is a foundation from the bottom up, and we build similar to a tree where you plant your roots in and you grow nice and strong. You can weather the storm. It's essentially the same way with your own performance. So building elite mindsets. Mindsets are essentially a set of perceptions and beliefs that we have that ultimately drive our behaviors. And so one of the things I really want to emphasize is that mindsets are not just quotes. It's not just a spurt of motivation. Mindset is something that is an ingrained belief. It's belief that comes from trust, that comes from evidence, that you're everything that you say you are, that you put in the work, that you're intentional, and that you care about what you put out. When we look at performers across the board, they have a common theme, a few ones actually. The first is that pressure is a privilege and that they actually expect pressure to be there in the pursuit of anything great. Almost anything that you do that you care about, that you want to be great at, is worth struggling for, and that there will be pressure that you will have to overcome and actually embrace, I encourage you to do. The next piece is grit. And there are many different ways that we can talk about grit. However, I align with Angela Duckworth's research and really looks at passion and perseverance to pursue long-term goals. Are you willing to relentlessly pursue every day what it takes to be a great leader, to run your business, and to be the person that you want to be day in and day out, all in pursuit of your long-term goals? Ultimately, leaving us with mindset is a system, not a motivational quote. Mindset is a fundamental shift that we can actually ingrain with behaviors, self-talk, visualization, and many different tools that we'll cover shortly. And so I just want to give you 3 steps to actually start shifting your mindset. The first is identify that we have them, and we have them about almost everything. One in particular we will talk about is stress, or actually 2, recovery as well. A lot of the times our society has deemed stress to be this bad thing. Oh, let me get rid of stress. Let me go. Excuse me. I'm way too stressed out right now. So much is happening. Stress, stress, stress. Always in this negative connotation. However, you'll see shortly that stress can actually be leveraged and is a performance-enhancing tool that tactical personnel and performing athletes leverage daily. The second step is understanding the effects of these mindsets on your life. So understanding that we do have them about everything, how do they impact us? Are they helping or are they hurting? If I'm a business owner who thinks stress is inherently bad and I avoid stressful situations, I'm avoiding breakthrough for my business and myself. Third, pick one mindset and start training it. We actually will uncover a few, so you do not have to pick one right now. But again, mindsets are not just wishful thinking, and it's not just motivational quotes. These are fundamental shifts that require behaviors and actions that follow. So the first mindset we'll talk about is building a growth mindset. The first way you can build a growth mindset is reframing how you see failure. One of the biggest things that hold performers and business owners back is the relationship with failure and not understanding how crucial failure has been in their success to even get to the point that they're at now. So the first thing, shift your language. And there's 2 small shifts you can make, just adding the word and or yet to some phrases. For example, I can't get this done by the deadline. Or I can't finish this yet. I'm not quite yet where I want to be and the deadline is approaching. That yet adds in just that little bit of that room for growth, that room for area that you can exceed what you thought that you were capable of once before. And additionally, seek challenges. When we have this bad relationship or negative relationship with failure, we begin to stop seeking challenges because we fear that failure. And if we stop seeking challenges, we, again, stop seeking the very thing that's going to allow us to break through in our business, in our growth. The second step is praise effort, progress, and yes, you're going to hear me right, and outcomes. A lot of the times we preach, the growth mindset was just getting better, progress, getting better. And yes, that is super important. That is a profound piece of it. However, we do know this is the real world and outcomes do matter. You do rely on outcomes to some extent. So being able to acknowledge that effort, progress, persistence, and outcomes actually do matter is something that is super profound when I talk about the growth mindset with performers. So the next step is focus on your controllables. And so what that means is, what can I do to influence? What can I control in the situation? My attitude, my execution, my effort. A big piece of not just controlling what you can control is also letting go of what you can't. And later in this presentation, we'll give you some practical tools to let go of the worries that you cannot control so that you can put maximum effort, intensity, and clarity into the things that do matter and you can control for your business. I invite you all to watch a short video. It's a Walt Disney classic, Meet the Robinsons, and I think it has a great message that encompasses how we can leverage failure as a blueprint for future success.
What I'm doing.
Keep moving forward.
I mean, this stuff is way too advanced for me.
Keep moving forward.
And what if I can't fix this? What are we gonna do?
Keep moving forward.
Why do you keep saying that? And don't just say keep moving forward.
It's my dad's motto.
Why would his motto be keep moving forward?
It's what he does.
What's that supposed to mean? But I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You failed!
It was awesome.
Exceptional!
Standing. I did better. From failing, you learn. From success, not so much.
If I gave up every time I failed, I never would have made the meatball cannon.
I never would have made my fireproof pan.
I propose a toast to Lewis and his brilliant failure. May it lead to success in the future.
Look, I'm sorry your life turned out so bad, but don't blame me. You messed it up yourself. You just focused on the bad stuff when all you had to do was let go of the past and keep moving forward.
And such a simple message, and I know it's Walt Disney, but it is true. We can leverage failure for success. And there's a great quote in there that said, "You learn the best from failure, from success, not so much." When we win, sometimes winning can be intoxicating, and we're just so caught up in, I won, I'm great, we're great. And you don't look at the leverage, you don't look at the skills and tools you leverage for those wins all the time. But with failure, we're able to dissect the things that went wrong, what went right, what we need to learn, and how can we propel ourselves forward and continue to build that momentum within our teams, our business, again, and in our individual leadership as well. So I invite you all to just think about one mantra, one quote. Here his was just keep moving. Find a mantra that works for you. And again, I guess mindset is not just a mindset, motivational quote. However, a mantra is something that can ground you, something that can remind you that, hey, this failure is something worth exploring. This is something that can propel us forward. So take a few seconds to just think about a mantra, something that can redirect your focus when you're perceiving failure as a negative, and you want to reshift that. So here's how to fail forward. This is an adaptation from Stanford's resilience program where they do failure resumes. So the first thing I invite you all to do is first either define or redefine what failure means to you. I think this is profound because we just talked about how the negative relationship with failure erodes progress, erodes success in the future when we have these negative relationships. So I invite you to just redefine what failure means to you. And then next, if you're willing, jot down 3 to 5 times that you failed according to this new definition. And the third step in this simple process, identify how this helped you. How did these 3 failures, how did they leverage? What did you do to propel you forward? I want you to think about maybe riding a bike. What did you learn from falling the first 3 times and eventually getting it right? And as you know, as people, we are all individual. Your businesses are all unique to yourselves. I want to highlight another mindset that really separates a lot of performers, especially athletes, is what separates you? How are you unique? How are you not just another number in the system? Another quarterback, another manager, any position, any role. First, identify your unique qualities. What unique strengths and skills do you leverage that set you apart? What are things that you can consistently use to your advantage that show your leadership, show your qualities, show that you are the person fit to have this impact on your community? The next piece is your purpose and your meaning. What gets you out of bed at 4 in the morning? How can you draw meaning on the things, on the long, extended meetings, days where it just feels like it's nonstop and we just have to crunch and grind through to get to that deadline, to that next day, to that next week? Well, how can you draw meaning out of that? How does that all make sense for you where you don't feel like you're just going through the motions? The next, what are your values? What matters most to you? Who is the person you truly want to be? How do you want to show up as a leader day in and day out? And what non-negotiables do you stand for? And many successful coaching practices, you think about Coach K, any of those other sport coaches, they have non-negotiables, standards that they set for their teams, and you see year in and year out, whether there be transfers, one and dones, people leave the program, the standard doesn't change. So as a leader, what standards, what non-negotiables do you stand for in your business, in your life? Next, your goals. What are you actually aiming for? And what is your game plan? Goals without execution or goals without a plan is just wishful thinking. So how are you going to execute this? And how do you know what you're even aiming for? The next mindset we'll talk about is how to leverage stress to be a performance enhancer. So first I want to start by just kind of clearing the air on stress. The stress response itself is no more, no less than just the brain and body signaling you and preparing you to do something effortful, whether that be running from a bear, running a pitch, or even just seeing a bee. Our body stress response will stay the same through and through. If you go hug a partner, the stress response will be the exact same. The difference is with our science is our interpretation, so our perception, our belief about this stress that we're experiencing. So again, leads to mindset. If the mindset that you have is that the stress is bad, that will inherently take you down the path of your body breaking down that stress as something negative, something to get rid of. And on the flip side, when you see this as something enhancing, something that can propel me forward, this will actually take you down a path where you see some of the greatest performances occur. And not to confuse this with flow state, however, if you think about what stress does to the body, it allows your vision to be super clear and focused on what's important. Your body revs up, more energy, more ability to exert effort. And so if we can use this in a more helpful way, a more adaptive way, stress can actually be a super helpful performance enhancing tool. I want you to think about it like any weight room strength and conditioning move. Think about a push-up. You know, when you're pushing down, you're pushing up, when you're breaking down the muscles, that's stress. You're putting your body through stress. And what do you do after a nice workout? You go fuel up and hopefully you sleep and recover. That's how we use it for our body. It's the same way for our minds. If we leverage stress and recovery so that we can propel consistent growth, that's where we can leverage this. And we'll talk more about how to leverage recovery with stress later on. So one of the ways, or the ways that we and our science have shown with Dr. Leah Crum and her research done on Navy SEALs, show how to adapt a stress-enhancing mindset. First, acknowledge the stress. Be present with it. Expand. A lot of the times we hear acceptance and we just think, oh, let the world happen to us. Acceptance is not just letting it happen to you. It's being curious and seeing, what can I do to leverage this? What is this telling me? If the body and the brain are signaling you to do something effortful, what is it signaling you to do? What is it exactly asking you to perform at? The next, welcome it and appraise it. We know that I talked about how you perceive it as negative or positive. We call that challenge appraisal, challenge or threat. When we perceive the stress as a threat, our body breaks down and it is all negative. However, when we appraise it as a challenge, as something that matters, if you think about anything you stress about, deadlines, finances, performance, these are things that you care about. So inherently, when you look at all the stressors in your life, just take a list of them. Look at how many of them are wrapped up in things that we actually care about, things that matter to us. So in this second step, when you leverage it and appraise it, you're essentially reconnecting with something that matters to you. And you're saying, hey, I'm fit for this challenge. I'm determined. I'm ready. And my brain and body has just signaled me and gave me proof that I'm ready to execute in this moment. The next piece is leverage it. Utilize this stress to enhance your performance. So in this moment, whether it be a pitch, a presentation, anything you can think of, get curious with yourself. Those nerves that arise, before the pitch, that feeling in your chest and your palms, those are all good nerves. So here, now that we've talked about how to leverage stress, I'll show you how to leverage recovery in order to see these performance enhancing boosts. So first, schedule recovery like meetings. The surest way to ensure that you're recovering is schedule it. The same way your schedules are jam-packed with all these other meetings, deadlines, proposals, schedule in 10 minutes to walk, 5 minutes to just breathe, 3 minutes to reconnect with something that matters or someone who matters. Second, understand that debt is cumulative. You cannot go for a whole week grind of no sleep and think that I will just sleep in on Sunday and you're going to be recovered. That is not how recovery debt works. The third, recovery type matters. An ice bath or hitting the weight room is not a solve end all be all. And although it can be helpful for certain types of stress, it's super important to know that when we match our depletion type, so are we mentally drained? Are we physically drained? Are we both emotionally drained? There are different aspects that we can tailor to, and making sure that we match the recovery type to our depletion is going to be super crucial for you to sustain your confident focus and energy to be the day in and day out consistent leader. The next piece is quality over quantity. I understand that in your day, you do not have a 2-hour block to just nap and do nothing. Although recovery is not nothing, it is an investment. Even just taking 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes here after each meeting to just disconnect and refocus, recenter, go for a small walk, whether it just be going to the water fountain, stepping out of your office, away from your computer. These short bouts of recovery, those add up rather than just feeling like we have to have 1 2-hour block solve all of our recovery needs. And this fifth piece is just a simple equation I want you all to leave with, is just understanding that stress plus recovery equals adaptive growth. And stress without recovery is typically what we lead, or what we call burnout. So now we're going to segue into some tips that allow you to be present in the moment as a leader and perform when it matters most. So you can lead with elite presence, you can contact the present moment, and deliver when it matters most. So introducing meditation and mindfulness, these are life practices. Although they're shown to be many performance enhancing boosts, mindfulness actually is the leading performance enhancer amongst most of the sports psychology literature. And with this practice, you can see some benefits as up to a 23% increase in cognitive ability, which we talked about earlier, cognition, that load, the challenges we face, how that erodes our trust and our confidence. The next piece is a 30% reduction in stress markers. Although we talked about stress being adaptive and being able to be leveraged for performance, I'm not encouraging you to just take on more stress and just say, hey, stress, come on. We actually can reduce our stress markers with this practice. And then even increase decision-making quality by almost 70%. It's all supported by research. With even just a 6 to 12-minute practice daily, you actually start to see profound changes in the brain, not just chemically, but also structurally. We'll see changes. We'll see shrinking in the amygdala, which is just our brain's kind of emergency response that signals threat, danger. And again, as we talked about, constantly being in the fire, you feel like you're always under the fire and that there's always danger. So being able to calm this center down and allow yourself to say, hey, I'm composed, I control the moment, I'm in presence, I'm the kind of driver of the ship, if you will. So the first practice I want to walk you guys through is called a open monitoring practice. So if you're willing, in your seats, sit up nice, tall, confident, comfortably, stack your shoulders, your hips, your spine, and just allow yourself to either close your eyes, keep them open, or have a soft gaze forward, and allow the breath to come to a rhythm. Notice sensation of the inhale, the exhale. Allow the mind to just be. And when the mind wanders, notice when it wanders, and just kindly direct it back. This small practice right here, just taking a moment to just reconnect with yourself, sit with discomfort, can actually increase your emotional capacity, the capacity to sit with hard things, ultimately driving you to be able to perform when it matters most. Again, a lot of business owners squirm at stress. I want you all to be able to walk out of here knowing that stress can be your best friend and that you will leverage it to lead your team into the next quarter, into the next year, and beyond to fulfill your long-term vision and goal for your performance. So now if you want to bring your attention back to the front, that was a short open monitoring practice. Again, this is a super profound practice. A lot of our research shows that even with just 3 minutes a day, incorporating it in different activities like walking, they call it mindful walking, mindful dishwashing, showering, taking a mindful minute, really being able to direct your attention and your awareness to the present moment. And more specifically, without judgment, giving yourself this kindness, this ability to be, kind with yourself. Give yourself some patience and understand that our mind wanders. We'll be in meetings, we'll be in many situations where, our attention drifts. But being able to direct it back to where you want is going to be super profound, whether it be for a pitch and you kind of stumble up and you're like, oh, where am I at? Being able to redirect and execute with confidence and poise. And also just day to day when you're just going through the motions in your mind. It's just in that drifting world where you're just going through kind of that autopilot, if you will, being able to direct it to something important. Next, it's another type of meditation. It's called focus meditation. This actually requires you to bring your attention to a very specific point. So you can either pick the breath, you can pick one visual point, or even a mantra, an auditory point. Sometimes people listen to water sounds, one sound. Sometimes people will pick one spot in the room and just really focus on that for as long as they can. I think the biggest thing that we misconceive with our focus and our energy is that we need to have one prolonged kind of bout of focus. This is not, crisscross applesauce. My mind is blank for 2 hours straight. That is not the human nature. That is not the human mind. When your mind wanders, can you direct it back to what's important now? How can you execute, again, in the moment? Because in the moment is where performance occurs. So this next tool is actually going to be more of a resilience building tool. This is how you can employ this live in the moment to bounce back, whether it be you slip up, whether it be you lose focus, or you just want to regain your presence and ground yourself in the present moment. First thing you can do to bounce back, one physical action. For athletes, if they make a mistake, sometimes just washing their hands of the mistake, letting it go. You see many professional baseball players, they'll flush a invisible toilet in the dugout, just kind of flush the mistake, let it go. The next piece is a grounding breath. We talked about a few practices, being able to recenter and ground yourself once you've let go of that mistake. How do you bring yourself back here now? And the next piece is redirect your attention to an external target. Performance does not happen in our head. It happens on the field, on the pitch, as we're presenting, as we're pitching. So focus on the win. What's important now, or the NBA, next best action. So now we'll go into some more preparatory skills that allow us to, again, prepare ourselves to be in the moment, not just say, hey, what do we do when panic hits? This is how we actually prepare and fend against, those anxieties and those worries that kind of slip through the cracks sometimes. One of the tools we'll talk about is self-talk, which is essentially this running dialogue we have within ourselves, whether it be internal or external. We'll talk about that more. Next slide. Visualization, you'll just see on this slide many of the improvements and benefits that it has within our performance. We've seen up to a 34% increase in motor task. So for essentially what that means is the same parts of the brain that activate when we're doing visualization or imagery actually activate, while we're imagining it. So me picking up this clicker, I could imagine myself picking it up and actually rewire that same pathway that gets activated when I physically do it. Next, we know that there's a 28% decrease in anxiety scores. We know that procedural memory is actually super profound in our research and literature with imagery. We know that the procedures and steps that we take, the action checklist, all those things that are important within our business and our frameworks and decision making, we know that when we use imagery, we can actually tighten those procedures, tighten those loops so that it becomes automatic behavior and not something that we constantly have to refer to a handbook for. Now going down to goal setting, I won't talk about this super extensively, but I know there's three types of goals that we look at, which are the outcomes, the big picture, the performance, what are some measurements, what are some markers we want to hit. So for quarter one, we want to see an increase of 15% on our, marketing sales, something like that. And then the process, what do you do daily, day in and day out? What are your behaviors that drive this overall outcome? So I want you to really focus on the process goals. Process goals have actually shown to be the most effective and most predictive of our performance. So those small daily habits that you persist at being great every day, like Michael Jordan, like Tom Brady, like all of the professional greats that we see in sport, as well as in business and other leadership kind of domains, the small process goals that compound over time. And one of the things I invite you to do is write your goals down. And it's not to test your memory that you don't remember what your goals are, that they don't matter to you. But what we know is that when we write things down, we actually see up to a 40% increase in the likelihood of those outcomes actually happening when we write them down. So essentially, what gets measured gets managed. So writing those things down will be super helpful. Being visible, whether that be on your lock screen, on your computer screen, on your desk, have it be visible constantly so you always know what you're pursuing. And I know it sounds like a lot. And if that's the case, I hope that all of those things are not true. And I want you to get a little lived experience of how our thoughts are not facts. So if you're willing, I invite you to do this. Stand up and say, I can't stand up. And then when you go to sit down, say, I can't sit down. If you're willing. 3, 2, 1. I can't stand up. I can't sit down. And for those on Zoom, I want you to say, I can't pat my head, and pat your head. What this shows, super small practice, but it shows thoughts are not facts. You can tell yourself, you can talk yourself down all you want, but nonetheless, you can still execute despite whatever those words or sounds are kind of signaling to you. The next piece is helping or hurting. A lot of the times we look at self-talk as positive or negative, and that sometimes draw people away from actually practicing this helpful skill because they think it's, oh, this toxic positive, I need to tell myself something that's not true. No, self-talk needs to be context dependent. Is it helping or is it hurting? If I'm up here giving this presentation and I'm telling myself in my head right now, oh, you're doing so good, you're doing so good, that's probably going to be more distracting than it is going to be helping because I have to deliver this speech. However, there are times where you need to give yourself that fire. You need to give yourself a pep talk and be stern with yourself. And sometimes it may come off as negative, but if it's lighting that fire, it's motivating you, that can actually be more helpful than giving yourself this kind of false positive narrative. I know with time we're running a little low, so I will skip forward. One thing I do want to leave off with is your approach really matters. Are you avoiding the worst case scenario? So you're telling yourself, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. Or are you approaching it with the best case scenario? I will execute this because this is what I'm trying to do. I put in the hours, I put in the time. Tell yourself what exactly it is that you've done to prove to yourself that you're capable of the things you say you are. One of the quick things about don't, it's called ironic processing. And I want you to think about essentially what happens to our brain is whenever we say don't, do something. So don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. Our attention draws only to mess up, mess up, mess up. So a lot of the times when you're telling yourself don't do something, you're bringing your attention to that exact thing. So keep that in mind when you're going forward. The next piece is mental imagery for tightening your blueprint, your mental blueprint. As we talked about some of the benefits before, I want you to think about this similar to cutting your grass. As you continue to go over the lines, look at the indentation that this creates. This is the same thing that happens when we engage in mental imagery consistently. We ingrain these neural pathways and really refined how effective this practice can be, tightening our procedures, our decision making, and creating richer mental models that prepare us for the different situations that we can experience during a pitch or during a long season. Because, as you know, being a business owner is a year-long grind. This slide I will not go into super extensively. However, this, for the Zoom folks and for those who have access to this, this is actually a guide to create your own script. So when you're in these pitch scenarios, you actually now have something super tangible, a baseline to go off of on the right, and then on the left is a sample of how I've scripted, imagery with athletes. So you have your kind of own plug and play tool. Next is a super helpful tool, which I call performance planning. It's essentially planning for the what ifs. There's some interesting research by Dr. Goldwitzer from NYU who studied some students looking to exercise over their winter break. And they broke them into two groups. Group A set traditional goals, and Group B, they set if-then goals or if-then planning. And what they found is around 92% of the time, or rather 62% of the time, the group who set traditional goals actually failed in reaching those. And the if-then group only failed 9% of the time in reaching their goal to succeed. So if-then planning allows you to really identify what realistically will come up, what technical difficulties, what emotional difficulties, what things may stump you up in a situation, and allows you to develop like an if-then plan that creates automatic behavior. So if this happens, then I'm going to do this. So now you're not caught in the moment, you're not freezing, you're not panicking. This is something that you can do to actually plan for performance. Next, a simple recovery tool. I will be speeding a little bit past this. I'm going to be conscious of your time. Oh, we're good. So a simple recovery tool, it goes in 3 phases. The first, calm your body. We talked a lot about how the nervous system regulation is the foundation for long-term performance. And so having a practice that you can consistently go to, whether it be 3 minutes of breathing, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, progressive muscular relaxation, the whole list goes down. Being able to calm your body and bring your baseline back down from that threat and that constant attack and work mode back down to a baseline where you can just, again, go be a father, go be a partner, and just go be a person, not a business owner. The second piece is clear your mind. And I think these 2 pictures show a perfect example of what I mean. Our mind sometimes is like iPhone tabs where we have way too many open at once. And if you know from your experience with an iPhone, the more tabs you have open, the slower your phone works, especially when our batteries are low and we need a charge and you're trying to race for that charger. The apps just run super, super slow as you're trying to close them. It's the same way with our brain and our cognition. So with this second step, clearing the mind, we actually want to close those mental tabs and create some separation between our work lives. And a simple practice to do that you can do, it's called the leave it technique. Simply take a sticky note, and you can do this in many different ways, whether it be before bed, to just leave all of your unwanted thoughts and worries out of bed and just allow you to sleep, or even going into work, outside of work, take a sticky note, write down some worries, write down some unclosed loops or thoughts that you want to address, leave it in your car, and then go home, go be a parent, go be a partner, and then come back to these problems. What this kind of technique allows you to do is just create some distance that not every problem feels like it's glaring in your face and that it needs to be addressed right here, right now. Because I know as business leaders, you feel like every hour is worth the same, every task is worth the same energy, and that's simply not. And I hope that some of these tools allow you to gain some clarity on what actually is important to you in this moment. The third step is refill your tank. So now that we've calmed the body from that threat and alert mode, we're able to kind of create some psychological distance between our worries, our problems, and other things that we need to solve. How do we now refill the tank so that we're rejuvenated and able to go be that active, healthy person that we aspire to be outside of our work lives? Here is a simple template that you can, again, plug and play. Again, it starts with calming the body. I always point to deliberate breath work. That is one of the sure ways. It's free. Our body has access to it, and there's plenty of great resources and guides on YouTube and anything like that that'll allow you to build up that practice as you gain some independence. And the second piece, reflect and release. Many methods here. I talked about leaving it, journaling, brain dumping, especially before big meetings. A lot of the times, even just journaling for 10, 15 minutes, getting all that extra clutter out allows you to have access to more of the information that's important for you in this moment. So you're not constantly battling with all the negative or irrelevant information and all the stuff that you actually need to deliver on. The next piece, filling your tank. I break this down, and I want to thank Alex Auerbach, who shared this framework with me. One micro pleasure. So what is one thing you can do to kind of feel good about yourself? Whether it be for a light walk, listen to some music. What is something that's going to bring a smile to your face, something that brings you pleasure or joy? The second piece is a micro recovery. A little bit different than calming the body. Another way that we can, get the body moving, connect with a loved one, reflect on your 3 good things, the 2 we went over earlier. So there's a lot of plug and play. There's no one size fits all. What I invite you to do is build out your little recovery system as well as add in some movement. Test this for maybe 2 weeks, get some information, see what works, what doesn't work, and what you might want to change, what you want to try differently, and really, really experiment with this. See what truly works for you because, again, there is no one size fits all. Excuse me. The next piece, leading with honest reflection. As a leader, honesty is going to be what drives your team ultimately. When we reflect, I want you to look at this quote that Tom Brady said. He said, Coach Belichick created an environment where we could say exactly what we thought and didn't really have to worry about, hurting feelings. And it's not to say be a bad person and rip people to shreds. It is to say that honest reflection, the fact of the matter, being objective, can actually be more enhancing for your performance than it would be kind of sugarcoating things and building this kind of toxic positive environment. We see a lot of the times we confuse psychological safety with toxic positivity because We see the fear of being truthful. We see the fear of challenging and expanding ourselves and being curious. And as leaders, you can shape that. You can model that. You can model your teams to be more, sharp with their decision making, more challenging, wanting to think outside the box and maybe share a vision with yourself. And so I want to give you a framework that you can take that the Blue Angels do, and we'll talk about them in the next slide. But here's just a simple framework to guide your reflection with your teams and even with yourself, whether it be daily, weekly, monthly, you name it. First, identify what works and what you want to keep doing. Next, identify what didn't work. What do you want to do differently? These two phases allow you to take objective measures. So it's not just your subjective feeling of, I didn't think this went well, because your personal feelings. We're taking objectively, did we perform well in this? Did we execute on everything that we planned for? The next piece, step 3, is gathering what you learned. Can you synthesize what you did, what you want to do differently, what you want to keep doing, and actually turn that into learning, propelling performance? The next piece, what are the next steps? What are the action steps? A lot of the times we get into meetings and we're just going over a bunch of the same agendas, or we're going over what we did wrong. We know what we did wrong, but what action steps are we taking to correct this and propel our performance forward for our individual selves and our teams? Again, so I invite you all to just watch this short video by the Blue Angels if you're not familiar with them.
For over 6 decades, the United States Navy Blue Angels have been performing incredible flight demonstrations that push themselves and their aircraft to the very edge of their capabilities. After every flight, the team also goes through a critical debriefing process, which they consider just as important as the actual flight itself.
I invite you to watch this video because it talks about quality debriefing. And debriefing is essentially like, how do we go over our performance? How are we reviewing what occurred during this performance? And these are structured conversations. It's not guesswork. It's not, okay, did this work? Did this not? These are agendaed conversations with no ego. If you watch the video, you'll see that regardless of rank, tenure, experience, they all drop their titles, egos, ranks, and they objectively break down the performance. And although it might be a more PG-13 version, I do think that they, probe a little bit harder. It's the idea that they do go in relentless effort, the right effort, the effort to get to the problems, the effort to solve what it is they need to solve and move forward with tangible, actionable steps. This debrief can be in as little as 10 to 15 minutes. Again, the quality is more important than the quantity. We don't need 10,000 more meetings. We just need efficient, quality meetings. Clarity and direction. This type of debriefing allows you to bring more clarity and direction to where your team is heading in terms of future performance and where they're currently at in terms of where are we now and how do we get to where we want to be. The next slide, we talk about team flow. We talk about getting into these collective conversations where ideas and thoughts are generating, breakthroughs happening. We're able to challenge each other with a shared risk, with a shared goal, a blended or lack of ego. A lot of this comes from the research done by Stephen Kotler and his Flow Research Collective, talking about how, mainly adventure sport athletes, but we can apply this in other contexts, how can we trigger flow and allow us to have more, efficient group conversations, discussions, and again, really being able to debrief with honesty and clarity with the intent of actually moving the wheel, moving the needle to push performance forward. Next, I know we talked about it a bit, psychological safety. One of the biggest things we see is it cuts costly turnover from employee retention as well as quality decision making. But when we look at this is more than just people being nice. A lot of the times we think about safety again as this toxic positivity with this fear of being honest, and the fear of being honest is what's holding a lot of teams back. If you look at the great performant athletic teams, the great tactical teams, they thrive through conflict. It is not to say they're going to start problems and look for them. However, being able to be objective, clear, and honest, truthful with the people that you care about, because it serves to the larger collective. We're all looking to enhance our performance. We're all looking to do better. And each day, day in and day out, we're doing our best. So how can we give each other that grace and that accountability to still say, hey, we have to perform? Because as we talked about with the growth mindset, effort and progress matters, but so do outcomes. So now, as we kind of come to a wrap, I want you to create an action plan. First step, just pick one pleasure or one pressure situation that you want to see your performance increase, whether it be a pitch coming up, whether it be a team meeting coming up as you plan for quarter one. Think about one pressurized situation you can envision yourself, facing in the near future. And the next piece, map out one tool or even two that you can use to leverage this. We talked about performance planning. We talked about a tactical recovery plan to build that capacity. We talked about present moment focus. So many different things, so many tools to choose from. However, I want you to pick one or two that resonate with you most after this call and just see what you like to experiment with first. The next piece is take public accountability. Tell a partner, tell your team, tell another leader, a co-owner, anything. Tell someone else. Do not just keep it yourself. Make it public so that you have an added layer of accountability that you're going to stick to this plan at the betterment of your team, your leadership, and the community you serve. Because again, this all loops back around to the whole cause rather. With Senator Schumer putting together this great project, with Stack, Lewis, all of the great people that are involved in this, being able to just commit to the cause that this whole workshop, this whole series was intended to do, building up, the small businesses in this community and allowing us to now adopt the athlete mindset, improve our focus, clarity, and drive ultimately results and outcomes in a way that is fulfilling and it matters and it aligns with your long-term goals for your business and yourself as a leader. Here, if you would like to take an opportunity, you can scan the QR code. It will take you to a link that allows you to either book a 30-minute call with myself or even connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to connect with any of the folks on Zoom or here in person to see how we can, essentially extend, what the foundation we built with this presentation. So yeah, I'll give you a few more minutes.
Do we have any questions in the audience?
So I understood that you covered a lot of tools that I could use to help me, let's say, to get myself in that mindset and keep it going. I wanted to ask, yesterday I found out that I had a goal that I wanted to accomplish, but I didn't want to start. There was just something stopping me. I had this feeling that I can't do this. And the goal was just to sell chocolate bars to raise money for a club. But I want to know, but when I started, I had that momentum going forward and I got to the goal, but the starting part was the hardest. I was like contemplating for 3 days. Should I be doing it today? Should I be doing it tomorrow? So what are some tools that I could use to get into that starting process? Like, I know you spoke about the mindset, the self-talk. What are some tools that you'd recommend moving into, like even just starting a business or getting that one thing done or just talking to someone new? What are some things I should be thinking about when going into that or putting my foot forward to get that momentum?
That was a great question, and thank you for sharing. I'm going to take a very quick and simple rule for you. Motivation follows action. Just do it. It is not to say that you go in aimless. You've connected a lot of meaning. This is the purpose you're doing it for. Motivation follows action. We know that in the brain. So being able to just physically take that risk, it takes a lot of courage. And courage is a choice. It's not something that we either have or don't. Being able to just take the courage, get clear on one small step. I'm not big on let's take one big jump to another. Like, what is the first domino that's going to get that rolling? And it seems like that's what you were asking about a bit. Pick the single smallest thing that you can do, act on it. The motivation will follow and momentum then cascades from there. I hope that answered your question.
It does not appear that we have any questions on Zoom at this time. Does anyone else in the audience have any questions for us?
Great job on the presentation. I learned a lot, took a lot of notes. I I'm a big proponent of meditating. I heard it for the first time on YouTube from Kobe Bryant years ago, and ever since then, it's personally been a transformative thing for me. So I just wanted to just ask maybe if you could just expound a little bit more around like the impact of breathing and meditation.
Yeah, so a lot of the times I look at meditation as a life practice, not just a performative practice, because what you see is that it shows up in every which way of our lives. So when you're presenting on the pitch, being able to be centered, be here, be now, with all the external noise. You mentioned Kobe Bryant, you have 60,000 fans yelling your name, yelling you to miss or make the shot. And so being able to tune that out and get close to what matters and you, yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, is a very profound way that meditation has that, expansive practice. And then even looking at mechanistically, the process of allowing the mind to be distracted and redirecting that attention back to something specific, that's where the power of the meditation is. I always call them like mental push-ups. So it's like you start in a down position, and then that's when you're distracted, and when you want to redirect, you push up. That's essentially a new rep. So in your mind, this trains you to be able to sit with distracting thoughts, worries, anything that tends to come up when they call monkey mind in the world of meditation, where we have constantly racing thoughts. Being able to just get clear, be directive, and have control over that thinking versus doing task selection is how we break it down.
We do have a question on Zoom that I'll be happy to share. Do you find that the strategies presented here are more applicable to business products or services?
I'd say they're more applicable to services than the product itself, because the service is really the human aspect of it, and these skills are intended to build up those human qualities and allow you to show up as you desire to be, the leader. That is the short version of it.
What a pleasure to have Mahki sharing with us today. Thank you again. Let's give him one more round of applause. My name is Jennifer Sharp, and I'm the Assistant Director here at the Lower Hudson Valley Small Business Development Center. I'm just one member of an incredible team, and it's an honor to be part of this group of dedicated professionals who share the mission of helping small businesses succeed. The SBDC provides free, confidential business advising and support to small businesses and entrepreneurs at every stage of their journey. Whether you're just exploring an idea, getting ready to launch, or working to grow your business. Our regional center serves Rockland, Westchester, and Putnam counties. At our core, our mission is very simple: to empower businesses to launch, grow, and thrive while strengthening the local economy and helping build vibrant communities. We're here to be a trusted partner, offering the guidance and resources you need to move forward with confidence throughout your business journey. At the SBDC, we provide a full range of advising services designed to meet entrepreneurs wherever they are. Whether you're just getting started or scaling up, we tailor our support to your goals. Some of the areas we help with include startup guidance, business financing and loan packaging, business expansion, business planning, digital strategy, legal business structures, operational efficiency, government contracting, and even certifications. Our services are designed to support entrepreneurs to succeed and, in turn, create stronger, more resilient communities. What truly sets the SBDC apart is our focus on impact, helping each entrepreneur move to action through guidance that's practical, personalized, and results-oriented. Every business is different, so our advising is never one size fits all. We take time to understand your specific goals and challenges, then develop a customized approach to help you reach the next stage of growth. Our no-cost services are designed to deliver real value, giving entrepreneurs access to expert insight, planning tools, and connections that can make a measurable difference in their success. Beyond our one-on-one advising, we offer free workshops, webinars, and training programs that strengthen key business skills. We also provide data-driven research and market analysis, helping clients make informed decisions backed by current trends and reliable information through our research center. And because collaboration fuels success, we work closely with a wide network of community partners, lenders, and industry organizations, ensuring that every client has access to the resources and relationships needed to build a strong foundation. If you are not already working with us, I encourage you to connect now and sign up as an SBDC client. Getting started is very simple, and once you're registered, we'll match you with one of our advisors who will help you with your business needs. You can reach out to us directly or visit our website to register. We truly look forward to working with you and being part of your entrepreneurial journey. And now I'd like to welcome Louis back to provide final remarks.
Well, thank you, Mahki. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope it was informative for you. It was for me. I invite you to check out our other workshops that are on YouTube. You'll be receiving an email, and please respond to the survey that we're going to ask you. We welcome your feedback and look forward to serving you. Thank you.